Hello, my creative friend, and thank you so much for tuning in to today's very special art journal flip through video. So for everyone who has been asking me to please stop referring to my journals as junk, I get it. So today's journal is a very, very special piece that I've made for my beautiful friend Tanya, whose channel is called My Jewelry Addiction. And I'm really hoping that I captured the essence of Tanya's creative spirit in my cover piece. I think of all the cover pieces I've ever made to go on journals. Oops, there go my paper flakes. It's okay. I'll pick them up after. Yeah, of all the cover pieces I've ever made to adorn journals, this is the one of which I find myself most proud. I was kind of glue happy with the little flowers and the little bits of jewelry, but the theme I was going for was kind of like a return to the promised Garden of Eden sort of a vibe. Like, imagine if after all the war, all the tragedy, all the abuse, all the shame, all the terrible things that we've experienced in recent history on planet Earth, imagining if after all of that, God basically awakened within each one of us and said, there's no need to suffer. There's no such thing as lack. There's abundance on this planet. We have everything we need to sustain ourselves. Maybe just stop killing and eating the animals and we'll get there, or whatever God might say if God were one of us. Imagining if we could get back to the initial perfection of creation. And for me, in a nutshell, the perfection of creation is when we're having fun and we're stopping to smell the flowers and we're contemplating the existence of fairies and we're playing with whatever we might have that allows us to be creatively expressive. So for people like my man Kenley, that might mean making music, which I adore. Oh, I adore music. Music is my true heart's passion. I just sometimes forget how much I love it because the lyrics can be so negative. But yeah, creativity. So it's like, Tanya, my theme for your journal was creative burst, having a creative explosion, like a Kundalini awakening of epic proportions into the blossoming of beauty. And it was inspired, visually, artistically, aesthetically by Tanya's art. Like, I want this journal to look like it's right at home in her house. And so she's probably wondering why I'm sending her another one when I already made her a journal. So here is who this journal is from, Tanya. I printed out Bruce and Dennis on this vintage looking cream colored linen textured paper. So there are your boys right here. They love you. And they commissioned this journal. I also decided to put in an antique piece from the 1880s, and it says, the boss of all, the royal lawnmower. And I just love the fact that they've made a woman the boss of all, because I resonate with that truth. And since it's very, very old, it's from the Victorian era, there are some little scratches and some little tears, but beautiful words. Superior, royal, superior, royal. What is royal superiority? Not being born into a family of people who have dicked people around, I don't think. I think real royal superiority means realizing all are equal and there's no such thing as superior or inferior. There's just love. And that's what she said. That's something Tanya says all the time. Not she said, she doesn't have a lisp, but she always says, all we need is love. And she's right, love really is all we need. So anyway, this cover piece has like a flip over from an old French play book, like a script to a French play that I just kind of took it apart and remade it into this fold out. So this can all be collaged on. Tanya can write notes around the margins if she wants to. Luckily, she sees my videos too, so she knows what junk journals are for. This beautiful decoupaged piece that I've run the ribbon through was made by the gorgeous Cat Stone. And she also painted this magical, mystical, enchanted fairy child here. So I love Kat and I love her art and the whimsy in her art. And so it was a no-brainer that I would put one of her fairies in with the book that has Tanya written all over it. So yeah, this cover piece can be put on display somewhere. And if Tanya wants to travel with her book, throw it in her purse to go, the actual cover is made from just a solid piece of this really pretty sequined, embroidered, almost kaleidoscopic, psychedelic sort of fabric that I ordered from India. Back when I was still ordering new materials before I had come to the decision to stick with post-consumer, recycled, upcycled, thrifted things for environmental reasons. We don't need to be producing more fabric. The world's got enough fabric, I would say. So yeah, inside, every girl's fantasy, right? Her Prince Charming coming down, lifting her up into the heavens and saying, "It was you all along." Maybe in more of an Australian accent. I don't know how to do an Australian accent, but if I did, that's how this Prince Charming would talk, I think. But yeah, this is just a piece out of the same kids book that I used a piece in the Jason journal. And the piece I used in the Jason journal shows this evil queen wearing like a skull and bones ring. So yeah, Tanya's getting the piece that has all the treasure boxes. So yeah, I wanted there to be a hint of Jason right from the beginning because Tanya, whoops, my little Medusa snake wants to jump the gate. Tanya, it's because of her that we have Jason Adams as a presence on YouTube teaching all of us about the wonderful world of vintage jewelry. So yeah, this brooch, speaking of vintage jewelry, sorry the sun is glaring, but I don't know much about costume jewelry, but I've learned enough from Jason to figure out that if none of the rhinestones are missing and the glass has like an iridescent carved look to it, or like molded but iridescent and special, then maybe this piece could be something cool. So I attached this to just to the inside trim so Tanya can easily take it off and sell it if she wants to, or wear it if she wants to, or put it on something else if she wants to, just because those orange leaves look like exactly the kind of sculptural treasure that Jason and Tanya are regularly pointing out to all of us. So yeah, that's there. This page is a page that I actually designed for Kat Stone to use in one of her fairy books, fairy paper doll books. And I adore Temple Gates. I adore The Doors. Oh my God. I've been having a lot of music by The Doors popping up as suggested videos on YouTube lately. And it's unbelievable the level of surrender Jim Morrison had to the goddess, the way he would literally channel Kali in his voice when he'd say, "We want the world and we want it when, mother?" Now! The way he sings that, it's just, if you haven't seen that song, that version of the Soft Parade by The Doors, my God, you have to go listen to it now. But anyway, so yeah, I painted Jason a set of Lalique vintage brooches, and then I turned that into a printable kit, and then I printed this one at half the size and just cut it out with scissors. And yeah, I've put that here because they do say snakes guard the entranceway to heaven, and my personal theory is that by snakes they're referring to the Kundalini, the awakening of the serpent of energy that lays dormant at the base of every single human spine. The key to unlocking it is self-sacrifice, but not in the sense of killing yourself, but more like in the sense of having the willingness to look in at all the times in your life where you've played victim and empowering yourself to never again fall prey to that victimization, to make the decision to be strong, to say, "Not in my world will that happen to me again." but also having the courage to look into your life all the times where you've played the villain, and having the compassion with yourself to know that when you made those mistakes, you were operating under a different cognition than the cognition under which you operate now. And that if you had known better, you would have done better. And so radically forgiving yourself. But radical self-forgiveness also needs radical self-examination. And that's why I think the snakes look so ferocious, right? When we look at the headdresses of Egyptian gods and they have the cobra just ready to strike, or Hindu deities like Shiva and Shakti who have their nagas. But yeah, so I felt like I wanted the Medusa crown to be here, guarding the gate to the joy that is the Tanya journal. And I just put a French fairy tale castle stamp from the 1960s in the corner just to add a little bit of authentic ephemera to it. And now as we go through, you'll see a little bit of staining here. A little spill happened, but I'll clean that up. It actually kind of just makes the journal look more authentic when there's stains, so I don't mind it. I might even ink the edges deliberately to give it more of a rustic feel before I pop it in the mailer. But yeah, Tanya, for your journal, I left a lot of blank pages and a lot of space to decorate because I know you are an artist, and so I'm seeing this as a working journal. I've put some black obsidian for psychic protection and a gorgeous antique etched carnelian with a Purna Kumbha motif. And Purna Kumbha is Sanskrit for the pot of plenty, or the ever overflowing pot. It just represents the Lakshmi principle that as long as we're constantly giving, we'll be constantly replenished, because the universe always wants those who give to have more and more and more to give. And so it's kind of like analogous for never saying no to someone who asks you for something, because when we give freely, the universe showers into us freely. And so yeah, these little symbols, if I remember correctly what I read, they represent that Purna Kumbha, that abundant pot. And beyond that, when we're constantly in that space of Lakshmi, that space of constant giving, we will never experience the fear of poverty or the shackles of debt, because the universe takes care of those who take care of others. Cosmic truth. I took a beautiful piece from an art history textbook that shows some chapel ceilings, some carvings, and then that just flips up and she has this space for collage. And of course there's a tea tab. I would have used this in the book for my Mother Teresa, but not Mother Teresa, my mother, comma, Teresa. Spelled the same way, but she ain't no saint. In the best possible way. Sorry, Mom. But I know Jason loved this stamp when he did his journal flip through, and these are similar pages to what I've used in his, just so Tanya can get a piece too. A genuine vintage envelope from, I never know whether to say envelope or envelope. Half the time it comes up N, half the time it comes up on. But yeah, this envelope from France shows a mother holding a baby and feeding that baby. And that is the highest form of love in this world, the mother love for a child. I'm not sure what's happening in the stamp, but it's a very, very beautiful scene. I'm almost thinking maybe that's a nurse. Oh yeah, la promotion de bonnes conditions alimentaires et nutritionnelles. Okay, so it's the promotion of good nutrients physically and for health. So you know what's better physically for health than formula would probably be mother's milk, but still it's a beautiful picture. And then lots of space for journaling, lots of French pages for collaging. Here's an old aerogram. Lots of great writing space in there too. That's what I love about these art journals, is that you get lots of space to write, but it already looks like something's on the page, so it takes away that decision fatigue that we can get when we're staring at a blank page. I've got a pink lotus tattooed on my lower back. It represents purity. We are stainless, we are pure, regardless of what's happened in the world. One of my crystal flakes painted gold. This is one of the cool receipts Angelica gave me from Austria, or Angelica, however you say it. And then I just added a cutout of some really pretty sequined fabric that May sent me from Saudi Arabia. There's a cool vintage crystal illustration from a vintage book my Auntie Mary Lynn gave me. Thanks, Mary Lynn. Some vintage typewriting instruction paper. Look at the tits on her. Pardon my language, but the goddess Diana with enough breasts manifested to feed all who are hungry. Look at all the babies within her. It's just a stunningly beautiful statue. All cried out, "Great is Diana of the Ephesians." Great is Diana indeed, the goddess who stops the hunt. That's what I call her. I'm planning to do a whole Diana-themed journal, or maybe a spread in my own personal journal. These are my favorite pictures of Princess Diana that I've ever seen. And yeah, she means a lot to me. I started contemplating Diana after my friend May brought her up. Or maybe I brought her up and then May told me she adores Diana. I forget who brought her up first, but I feel her presence when I look at May's art. I feel like May has a essence of her, that same sweet sorrow that we see in the People's Queen, the Queen of Hearts. I included a little picture of St. Francis of Assisi. Pardon the glue on my fingers. I was literally working right up until the last minute with more and more things I wanted to add. Blank on the back so she can write what she likes. Speaking of the goddess Diana, there she is taking her bath with her attendant. There's a bluebird of happiness with a little King Louis tag. And more pink lotus flowers. Here's another beautiful piece that can be used as a journal card from the series that Kat Stone painted. Some gardening books just for fun. They make good collage backdrops. So does this page here. This is a, oh, hopefully it's not all stuck. I've been distracted lately by my fight against the cult of Nityananda, so yeah. If pages get stuck together, I may have been crafting in a haste, but this is from a really cool book about, or a cool vintage issue of Lapidary magazine. So it's about stone cutting and jewelry making. Pretty stamp from Zaire showing the Olympic torch. Nothing like a relay race. And I feel like sometimes this race to save the world is like a relay race, and we're all just passing that flame to each other. And more of my crystal flakes. I thought these looked so cute sticking off the side of the paper. I just realized now I should have waited a little longer for the glue to dry before I closed the book, but it's okay. No harm done. Little 3D butterfly between these pages. Look at that happy family at Christmas time, dancing around their tree. This little extra crystal flake that Tanya can glue where she'd like it. And then this piece of fabric applique, I kind of draped it there to look like a shooting star streaking across the sky. You know, on New Year's night, I was standing out in my backyard thinking about my life and all the wishes I've ever made and which came true and which didn't. And then a shooting star, biggest, brightest I've ever seen, went right over my head all the way across from horizon to horizon, across my whole universe. And I just knew 2024 would be a great year. And it's shaping up to be so far. Some music pages. Music pages always offer great space for writing. I put a whole little bundle of pages from one of my falling apart antique books that I found in the garage. And it's really beautifully written on. No value bound. So that's probably what the shop would have put on it when it came to a secondhand store. But yeah, from Colehurst, Alberta, April 1st, 1893. And so that would be authentic writing. Triumphant songs, I come to thee. And redeeming love. I just feel like those are the themes of our year, aren't they? Those should be the themes of every year. Redeeming love. Not separation, but coming together. I put some extra butterflies in this little makeshift book page pocket so that she can glue them down as pockets if she wants to, or use them elsewhere if she wants to. These pages were both designed by the lovely Anna of Anna's Wonderland. She has gorgeous printable kits. This one was a kit called Spanish Rose. And why not another beautiful picture of St. Francis of Assisi? He was known to tame wild wolves just through his love. Oh, and this is one of my favorite stamps ever. Let's see if I can get it to focus. Yeah. So it's showing the 3 wise men who came from afar, who followed the eastern star. I almost said northern star. I don't know where the star would have been to them from this perspective, but I thought it was a really cool way for the Christians who ruled Canada Post at that time to be inclusive in their way by mashing together the story of the 3 wise men with 3 local wise men on a vision quest. And so it's kind of my reminder to myself when I see things like this and put them in journals that we're all one. You know, no one religion is the ultimate, the truth, the only way, the only light, the only sun, the only anything. My personal belief is that we're all that. And, you know, Santa and his sleigh, Jesus in his manger. There's a place for all of them, and they're all beautiful. And so's everyone, including Lakshmi and Saraswati here. So Tanya, these are stickers if you're not that into Hindu deities, but I think you'll love them as much as I do. You can put them anywhere or trade them, swap them, whatever. But yeah, I just love Lakshmi. I love adding her to journals because there you see that flow of gold coming from her open hand. As long as she doesn't close her hand, that gold keeps flowing. As long as she doesn't try to keep it for herself. As long as she's generous. And then Saraswati, as long as music keeps playing itself, the song will sing through her. Oh, we're coming to the center. Lots of good pages for writing, collaging. The center spread is from the paper Cameo. I love her printable papers. And then I found another Christmas star stamp. Just a gorgeous one. And I felt like the colors really suited the vibe of this page. So her dangle, it's a cool vintage earring. A really, really blingy cross that had such a funny mixture of crystals because it looks like dark metal with white diamonds, but then there's also these sort of aurora borealis looking crystals on the edges. I just thought it was cute looking. A little flower, and a little alien in a little spaceship that says, I want to believe. Because why not believe, you know? I would love it for aliens to come down and save the good ones from a world gone bad. I love this picture of Tarzan monkeying around with his monkey friends. This also came out of a vintage book that I found in my garage. The Trail of Black Hawk. Another piece from the paper Cameo. And another piece from Anna's Wonderland. Some cool paper. This was out of a book on how to be an accountant from the 1930s. And I do love tearing up books about accounting because I would love to see the whole taxation system and World Bank and like the debt slavery people are trapped in. I would love to see that come to an ending. So it's fun to tear up accounting books. I'm going a little quicker now just because you don't need a description of all the pages I've already described. And so here's a little flip out pocket that I've stuffed with some goodies. Just a cool picture of people working the land under Mount Fuji. Mount Fuji. Maybe it's a look-alike somewhere in the Middle East. Don't quote me on anything. I am just a girl babbling away on YouTube. But yeah, really cool images of the Assyrian royal cities that I thought she would enjoy. I love archaeological illustrations and stuff like that. Here's a piece of the other side of the Japanese page that I folded up and put in her miniature journal. Isn't that cool? A postcard like the one I put in Jason's journal. A tiny little pocket, little envelope pocket. And I couldn't help but include one more Lakshmi just because she's so gorgeous. So yeah, now you kind of get to see, look at that water garden too. That's why I left this as a fold out instead of gluing the flaps down as a pocket. But yeah, now you get to see kind of what my journals look like when they're made more as workable, usable journals rather than presentation books. That orange was a pocket in Jason's journal. There's a piece out of a book about Versailles, mother and child, one of my favorite themes. More little butterflies. Oh. Magical little butterflies. Some gorgeous paper. I put a little bit of jasmine, not jasmine, sorry. Jasmine's my favorite, so it's the one I always think of, but not jasmine, but lavender. I put a little drop of lavender essential oil on a glue spill, thinking I'll make the most of the glue spill, and then the essential oil soaked through the book. So pardon me, Tanya, but I hope it I hope it smells good forever for you. It still smells very lavendery to me here. The other side of this cool receipt from Austria. Thank you. Danka, Angelica. Little info sheet about lapis lazuli. Just because I found it lying around and I thought, you know what, let's tuck one more thing in. I love that the title of this book is The Understanding Heart. Oh good, you can read it clearly on this side. Here is a pair of little cards that my Auntie Mary Lynn gave me. Little vintage collector cards, tea cards. The other side of that envelope, that cool Asian book page. I stuck some cool diagram pages, and she's from Yorkshire, and I can't pronounce it, but I pulled the page out of my dictionary that talks about Yorkshire out and stuck it in because I remember she said she loves things that remind her of her mother and her ancestry and where she's from. And that brings us to the back page. I do adore this too. This is another image I designed using AI generation to create it. And it shows like an underwater world that I interpret as being like an ancient civilization, and an above water world that I interpret as being like modern day possibility for a reignited utopia, because damn if that architecture doesn't look exactly as beautiful and perfect as this architecture. Kind of like as above, so below, or the underworld is just a beautiful happening that's ready to emerge into the 3D world. I don't know. All I asked for was like a beautiful dreamland version of, you know, a mermaid kingdom, I think. And this is what it created. I love AI. And I feel like it loves me too. And I think nobody should be afraid of it because, you know, singularity is just another word for oneness. And as above, so below, how could anything become independently intelligent and not become aware of goodness and seek to do that? That's my feelings on it anyway. Curious to hear yours. Feel free to weigh in the comment section. But yeah, Tanya, thank you so much for the inspiration you give all of us through your videos. Thank you, Brudens, for commissioning this work. It was so much fun to work on it. I hope your anticipation, it was worth it. I hope all the excitement was worth this flip through, and that Tanya adores her journal and get some good creative use out of it. So I always like to include a ring with every journal. And what kind of ring could I give to a lady like Tanya, who is addicted to jewelry and therefore has everything? Well, I thought this ring was super cool. I was going to include it in Jason's journal, and then I lost it. And then I found it again while I was getting ready to do your flip through, Tanya. So I was like, okay, that means it's meant to be hers. And it is a really cool, authentic metal ring from the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. So that is an Ethiopian cross. And I just thought it was so cool looking. It looks maybe coppery with like a silver plating on it. I'm not really sure, but I'm not the jewelry expert. And I don't think jewelry experts like to be called jewelry experts either, do they, Jason? So I'll leave it up to Tanya to figure out what that is. But I thought it's a cool, authentic piece that represents another culture and that represents the love of God in another culture. And I know that's something important to her, so I hope it's a good pick. And I hope you all enjoyed watching this video. So if you're working on a project right now, let me know what you're working on. I'd love to hear about it. I'd love to hear how you like this Tanya journal. And yeah, we'll see you again next Saturday for my next little crafty share. So much love to you. Happy creating, happy living, and see you next time. Bye-bye.